The void stretched infinite, a canvas of black, pierced by the cold fire of distant stars. The resolute, flagship of the Sol Empire's first expeditionary fleet, carved a silent path through the abyss. Its hull, forged from Earth's deepest mines, gleamed under the faint glow of a red dwarf star. This was no mere vessel. It was a declaration, a fist of steel and will thrust into the unknown, bearing the weight of an empire that never knelt. Captain Elias Kane stood on the command deck, hands clasped behind his back, his eyes fixed on the view screen. At 42, he carried the weathered edge of a man who'd seen blood and dirt before stars. His uniform, crisp and black with the silver sunburst of the Sol Empire, fit him like a second skin. Kane was no aristocrat, no soft-handed noble. He was a frontiersman, born in the shadow of mountains, tempered by the rebellion he'd crushed in Mongolia's windswept steppes. The Empire called him hero. He called himself soldier. "Status, Lieutenant," Kane said, his voice low, steady, like gravel underfoot. Lieutenant Mara Voss, her fingers dancing over the navigation console, didn't look up. "We're 3 light years past the Orion Spur, sir, approaching the Kaelid system. Long-range sensors detect 2 vessels, unidentified, non-human. They're holding position at the system's edge." Kane's jaw tightened. The Sol Empire was new to the interstellar lanes, a young giant among ancient traders. Other species, scaled, furred, or something stranger, watched them like wolves circling a newcomer. Some offered trade, others bared teeth. Kane had no patience for posturing. His mission was clear: broker peace, forge alliances, and open trade routes for the Empire. Failure was not a word he understood. The Resolute was no ordinary ship. Its crew, 500 strong, were the Empire's finest. Engineers, tacticians, scientists, all human, all loyal to the Sunburst. But at its heart were the 12, the children of Queen Nobilis, superhumans. Born of the woman who'd guarded Earth for 2 centuries, their blood carried her strength, her speed, her near invincibility. They were royalty, gods among men, and they knew it. On the Resolute, that made them a problem. The bridge doors hissed open. 3 of the 12 stepped through: Arden, Cassia, and Torin. Their armored suits, sleek and reinforced, marked them as warriors, but the royal crest on their chests screamed privilege. Arden, the eldest, moved with a predator's grace, his eyes scanning the bridge like he owned it. Cassia, sharp-featured and cold, followed, her presence a blade unsheathed. Torin, the youngest, trailed behind, his boyish face betraying a flicker of awe at the stars beyond. "Captain," Arden said, his voice smooth, almost mocking. "We've been summoned to the bridge. I assume the locals are causing trouble?" Kane turned, his gaze hard. "You assume nothing, Lord Arden. You're here because I called you. 2 ships, unknown origin, blocking our path. I want your eyes on this, not your assumptions." Arden's lips twitched, a half smile. "Of course, Captain. We live to serve." Cassia snorted softly, her arms crossed. "Serve? On a ship where we're leashed like dogs." Kane's eyes flicked to her. "You're leashed because your suits keep you breathing. 1 puncture, and you're gasping like the rest of us. My ship, my rules. Learn it." The Sol Empire was no tyranny, though its enemies whispered otherwise. Born from the English Empire that never faded, it stood as humanity's bulwark. Its laws strict but just, its cause righteous. Queen Nobilis, immortal and unyielding, had forged it from chaos, her power a beacon for mankind. Her children, though, were a storm she could no longer contain. Too strong, too many, they strained Earth's fragile order. So she sent them here, to the stars, under Kane's command. A test, a gambit, a way to keep her dynasty from fracturing the homeworld. "Captain," Voss interrupted, her voice sharp. "One of the ships is hailing us. Audio only." "Put it through," Kane said. A voice crackled over the bridge, guttural, laced with static. "Vessel of Saul, you trespass in Kaelid space. State your purpose, or we will fire." Kane stepped forward, his stance unshaken. "This is Captain Elias Kane of the Resolute, Saul Empire. We come to negotiate trade and peace. Clear our path, or we'll clear it for you." The response came not in words, but in fire. The view screen flared as a swarm of drones, sleek, insectoid, their hulls glinting like obsidian, erupted from the two alien vessels. Energy lances stabbed through the void, their crimson arcs slicing toward the Resolute. The bridge crew braced, but Kane stood unmoved, his eyes narrowing. "Shields up," he ordered. "Deploy the 12. Let's show them what Saul brings to the table." Voss's hands flew across her console. "Shields at full, sir. Launch bays open." The Resolute trembled as its bays disgorged the 12. They were no mere soldiers. They were tempests in armored suits, their forms streaking into the void like comets. Arden led, his suit's thrusters blazing white-hot, his fists already glowing with the raw energy of his bloodline. Cassia followed, her movements a blur, twin blades of force extending from her gauntlets. Torin, less certain but no less lethal, trailed, his suit trailing arcs of crackling power. The others, 9 more godlings, fanned out, their royal crests catching the starlight. The drones met them in a storm of chaos. 100 strong, they wove a lattice of death, their lances cutting the dark with surgical precision. But the 12 were no prey. Arden struck first, his fist shattering a drone into molten shards, the explosion blooming like a newborn star. Cassia carved through a dozen, her blades a whirlwind, each cut severing metal and circuitry with surgical disdain. Torin, hesitating only a moment, unleashed a pulse of force that crushed a squadron into crumpled husks, their wreckage spinning into the void. The Resolute stood untouched, its shields flaring gold as stray lances glanced off harmlessly. Kane watched, his face a mask of cold calculation. The drones were fodder, a test. The alien ships, blocky, thorned, their hulls pulsing with green light, hung back, their commanders no doubt expecting a prolonged fight. They underestimated Saul. They underestimated him. The battle was no contest. The 12 moved like a divine wrath, their suits amplifying their inherited might. One by one, the drones fell, blasted, sliced, or simply torn apart by hands that would rend steel. Arden laughed, his voice crackling over the comms as he punched through a drone's core, its detonation painting his suit with firelight. Cassia's precision was merciless, her blades weaving a tapestry of destruction. Even Torin, the youngest, found his rhythm, his pulses of force scattering debris like leaves in a gale. In minutes, the front line was gone. The void was a graveyard of twisted metal, glinting faintly as it drifted. The 12 hovered, unscathed, their suits' oxygen reserves still green. The Resolute loomed behind them, its hull pristine, its weapons silent. Kane had no need to fire a shot. His point was made. "Open a channel," Kane said, his voice unchanged, as if the carnage were a footnote. Voss complied. "Channel open, sir." Kane leaned forward. "This is Captain Elias Kane of the Resolute. You've seen what we bring. Clear our path, or we bring more." Silence answered, heavy and thick. Then the view screen showed movement. The two alien ships, their green pulses dimming, began to drift apart. Slowly, deliberately, they retreated, their forms shrinking against the starfield. It was no surrender, not yet, but a gesture. Fear dressed as caution. Kane's lips curved, the barest hint of a frontiersman's smirk. He'd seen that look before in the eyes of rebels who thought they could stand against Sol. "Advance, Lieutenant," he said. "Take us through." The Resolute surged forward, its engines humming a low hymn of power. The 12 returned, their suits docking with practiced ease. Arden strode onto the bridge, his helmet under one arm, his eyes alight with victory. "A fine show, Captain. Shall we expect more?" Kane didn't look at him. "Expect nothing. Prepare for everything." Word of the Resolute's triumph spread faster than light. The ship's sensors intercepted alien transmissions, encrypted, but not enough to hide their awe, their fear. Video feeds, captured by unseen probes, circulated across the galaxy's trade networks. The 12 tearing through drones like gods through mortals, the Resolute untouched, unyielding. The Sol Empire, newborn among the stars, was no longer a rumor. It was a force. Out there in the black, the stars waited. So did the future of the Sol Empire.